Right, let me say something that's going to ruffle a few feathers in Concord, North Carolina tonight. Shane Van Gisbergen is being set up to fail. I'm not saying it lightly. I'm not saying it because I'm a Kiwi-loving, Holden-bleeding Aussie sitting here with the Southern Cross on my wall. Well, okay, partly that. I'm saying it because the numbers don't lie, mate. And the numbers coming out of Trackhouse Racing this 2026 season are telling a story that the American NASCAR media won't touch with a 10-foot pit lane sign. Here's a 3-time Supercars champion, a bloke who turned up to Chicago in 2023, jumped into a Cup car for the first time in his life and won the race. A bloke who's now sitting on a 5-race Cup road course winning streak heading into the summer. The greatest road course rookie in the modern era of this sport, full stop. And yet, when the number 97 Chevy rolls onto an oval, Phoenix, Daytona, you name it, suddenly the speed evaporates. The car gets loose. The radio chatter gets desperate, and the finishes, an absolute shocker. So here's what I'm promising you in the next 8 minutes. I'm going to walk you through the insider data, the lap time deltas, and the equipment patterns that prove something is rotten inside that number 97 garage. And by the end of this video, you're going to be asking the same question I am. Is Trackhouse actually backing Shane Van Gisbergen, or are they quietly building their next golden child on his back? Buckle in, let's get into it. Fair dinkum data, no spin. Through the opening stretch of the 2026 Cup Series season, here's what SVG's number 97 has produced on the oval side of the ledger. Daytona 500, a P30. Now I'll give them that one. Super speedways are a coin flip in a hurricane. Fine, Atlanta P6. A genuinely brilliant drive from 28th on the grid, so the speed is in there somewhere. Then we get to Phoenix, a flat 1-mile oval, a track that rewards mechanical grip and chassis balance, and SVG limps home in 11th after starting 18th. Not a disaster on paper, but watch the in-car footage. The car is plowing through the center of the corner. The thing is understeering like a shopping trolley with a dodgy wheel. Now here's the kicker that the US media is ignoring. When SVG climbs out of that same chassis and points it at a road course, Coda, Watkins Glen, you name it, the car is alive. Pole contending pace, race winning pace. He took Coda to the wire and finished P2. Then he went to the Glen in May and won the bloody thing again, his 6th Cup road course victory in roughly 18 months. So what does that tell us? It tells us the driver isn't the problem. It tells us the engine isn't the problem. Same Chevy power plant goes in every weekend. So what's left? The oval setup philosophy at Trackhouse. Here's where it gets interesting. Trackhouse has been a one-trick pony on ovals for 2 years running. Daniel Suarez was openly venting about it last season before they shuffled him out. Ross Chastain has been brute-forcing podiums out of cars that, by his own admission on the radio, have no balance. And now SVG, the rookie, the foreigner, the bloke with the least political capital in the shop, is the one driving what looks suspiciously like the 3rd best chassis rolling out of that workshop on a Saturday morning. But it gets worse. Look at the aero packages. Look at the downforce settings being trimmed into SVG's car for intermediates versus what's going into the lead car. The pit window strategy on the number 97 has been borderline reactive. They're pitting after the leaders, not before. That's not how you build track position for a rookie, and that's how you bury one. Wait until you hear who's getting the priority instead. Enter Connor Zilisch, the number 88 car. 18 years old, American, marketable, already a Cup race winner in limited starts. And let's be honest, the apple of Justin Marks' eye. Now look, I'm not here to bag the kid. Zilisch is a phenomenal talent. 10 Xfinity wins in 2025, 18 consecutive top 5s, regular season champion. The bloke is the real deal. But here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody at Trackhouse will say into a microphone. The internal politics have shifted. When Trackhouse handed Zilisch the number 88, the number SVG drove to glory in 2025 and bumped Shane to the number 97. It wasn't just a numerical reshuffle, it was a symbolic transfer of priority. The number 88 is the marketing flagship now. Red Bull money, American-friendly story, a teenage prodigy with a 30-year runway, and SVG, He's the imported road course ringer they hope can develop into an oval threat. Hope being the operative word. This is where it gets interesting, because if you compare the practice notes leaking out of the Trackhouse garage, the engineering bandwidth, meaning who gets the senior race engineer's full attention, who gets the simulator time on a Tuesday, who gets the first crack at the new sway bar package, it's tilting toward the number 88, and the number 97 is getting the hand-me-downs, which raises the only real question that matters: why is Shane still there? And the answer, mates, is one word: Chevrolet. Chevy GM Motorsports loves SVG. They've loved him since Supercars. He won them a cup race in his debut. He's a marketing dream in 3 continents. Chevrolet is the only reason SVG hasn't already had the polite but firm "thanks for your service" handshake. The Bowtie brand is propping him up at Trackhouse, but the question is, for how long? Pause right here, because before I drop the conspiracy bomb in the next section, I need something from you. This isn't a sub-button beg. I don't care about that. What I care about is the Australian and New Zealand NASCAR community making itself heard. The American algorithm doesn't push SVG content unless we push it first. So here's what I want. Drop a Australian flag or a New Zealand flag in the comments if you reckon SVG deserves first-class equipment. If you're sick of seeing the bloke turn up to an oval with a chassis that handles like a wet brick, join the movement. Share this video to one mate who watches NASCAR. That's it. That's the ask. This is how we make Concord listen. Now back to the dirt. So, is it bad luck? Or is it second-class equipment? I've thought about this long and hard, and here's where I land. It's not malicious sabotage. Let me be clear about that, because I'm not throwing wild accusations. Justin Marks isn't sitting in a dark room twirling a mustache, but what is happening is something more subtle and in some ways worse. It's structural neglect. Trackhouse is a 3-car team with 2-car resources. Something has to give. And the bloke who gives is the one without the long-term contract leverage, without the American sponsor base, and without the political weight inside the shop. That's SVG. So what's the play? What's the masterstroke that saves his cup career? 2 names, write them down: Hendrick Motorsports and 23XY Racing. Hendrick is the gold standard, Chevy's flagship team. Kyle Larson, William Byron, Chase Elliott. They have the engineering depth, the wind tunnel data, and the oval pedigree to turn SVG from a road course specialist into a genuine 36-race threat. If Rick Hendrick picks up the phone, and remember, Chevy has the ear to make that happen, SVG walks into a top 3 car overnight. Then there's 23X, i.e. Michael Jordan's outfit, Toyota Power, granted, which is the complication, but MJ has shown he'll pay for talent and he'll back his drivers publicly when the chips are down. Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick aren't going anywhere. But if 23XI expands or restructures, SVG would be a marquee signing that prints headlines from Charlotte to Christchurch. The brutal reality: Trackhouse needs SVG more than SVG needs Trackhouse. He's a known race winner. He's banked playoff points. He's bulletproof on road courses. Any top-tier team in the garage would take him tomorrow. But here's the gut punch question. Does SVG even know how badly he's being underserved? Or has he been so polite, so grateful, so head-down Kiwi humble that he's missed the moment to demand more? So here's where I leave you tonight. The summer stretch is coming. Sonoma, the Brickyard, Watkins Glen rematch, then the playoff cutoff. SVG is locked into the playoffs already on road course wins. That's not in doubt. But what happens inside the playoffs when the schedule shifts to ovals? Bristol, Kansas, Talladega, Homestead is going to tell us everything. If the number 97 shows up with the same understeering second-best chassis we've seen all season, then we've got our answer. Trackhouse has made its choice, and SVG's clock starts ticking down to a contract year decision that could reshape the entire Cup Series silly season. But if Shane drags a top 10 out of that car on a proper oval Kansas, maybe Vegas, then we know the bloke is still the same generational racer who turned up to Chicago in 2023 and embarrass the entire field on debut. Either way, one thing is certain. The American media will keep underestimating him. The American teams will keep treating him like a road course novelty act. And we, the Aussies, the Kiwis, the believers, will keep watching because we know what's coming. The number 97 might be cooked, but the driver inside it, mate Shane Van Gisbergen, is just getting warmed up. And when he finally cracks an oval win, the whole NASCAR world is going to hear the roar from Auckland to Adelaide. Aussie pride, never quiet, never beaten, onwards.